was that Rebel Moon. Oh god, you just reminded me. So some of the Zack Snyder fans are really unhappy with the response to Rebel Moon Part 2, and I keep getting tagged in a lot of it. Oh my god, the delusion I'm seeing there is actually shocking. Thanks, Arisa Rich. They think it's some kind of grand conspiracy against them and Zack for the reception of Rebel Moon Part 2. And when I go to their profiles, it's actually nothing but sucking Zack Snyder's cock, and I'm not exaggerating. Their entire accounts are dedicated to worshiping him. It's so fascinating. And yeah, we talked about that, Corgi. I think it's a good casting choice. He's so overrated. He's not even overrated. Most people don't like his work. Like here, you know, didn't we went through? I think we already went through his filmography, but let's see. I think what was the last movie he had that actually was received well? I think it was the Snyder cut of Justice League, which was actually pretty good. I actually liked the Snyder cut of Justice League, and I hated Justice League. But aside from that, from things he's directed, the last thing he had that was received positively as a director was Man of Steel. And before that, it was Watchmen. So he's worked on some things as like a lesser role on things that were received well, like the Suicide Squad, where he was like an executive, which makes sense. That's where I think he fits best. As some kind he was producer here, but I think he actually works best in that role, where he's not like the writer, he's not the director, he just focuses on cool shots. I think that's where he shines. Because everything that he like takes the lead on or works on in a bigger way, trash. Like he cannot tell a story. Legitimately, he cannot tell a story. I was reading... I actually got a little deep on the Snyder cult. I was reading from some of them that kept resharing this one thing about how the scene in Scargiver, Rebel Moon Part 2, where they give them gifts, is one of the most moving scenes they've ever seen. And I have to wonder if they've ever watched another movie in their life. Because that is one of the worst scenes to try and give characters depth I've ever looked at. That's the scene I even mentioned in my video on it, where they give them these gifts for the hero crew. They're like, and this banner represents your no-quit attitude. You're so strong, with such a very bright, vibrant smile, a warrior who's always on the side of justice. And they just say it point blank. Like that's all, like that's Zack Snyder trying to tell you how you should feel about these characters. And they're talking about how that scene was so moving and powerful, and how like they think that this is the best movie of the year. It's like literally giving superlatives at the end of high school. Most likely to defeat Admiral Atticus. That's you. I wouldn't care if the action was at least good, but it's not, because every single action scene pretty much is fully slow-mo. So they drag on so long, and there's really no fight choreography, so even the things that are supposed to be easy slam dunks of being cool, like lightsaber battles, are lame, because they're slow-mo, and the girl Nemesis is only using like the same two moves over and over of huh, 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 huh. Huh, that's it. That's exactly what I said. Zack Snyder would do so much better if he would just fucking stop writing things. If he would just focus on making his cool shots come to life in big ways, I think he'd be so much more, like, efficient. He cannot fucking write. And since he can't write and he can't tell a story, everything he shows loses all of its luster. Oh, that one's a classic as well, Parker. I saw that one. You're talking about the one where they like pins the guy to the wall and it's supposed to be an ad about the drunk drivers? Yeah. New Zealand drunk driving ads are crazy. Those go wild. He's not the best writer, but he can sure make some badass shots. That's exactly what I said. That's what he needs to stick with. That should just be his role. And there's no shame in that. Be the guy that makes the coolest shots. And have you plugged into other projects that are well written. Yeah, I don't know why he's so obsessed with slow-mo. Someone needs to fucking slap some sense into him with that. It is miserable. This movie's 2 hours and 3 minutes, and it felt like it was 5, because everything was in slow motion, so it drags. It's a 2-hour movie with about half of it being slow-mo. I was really tempted, and I don't think I will just because the movie's so bad. I was tempted to actually time how much of the movie is spent in slow-mo. Because Rebel Moon Part 2... it's hard for me to even think of scenes that weren't slow-mo. Just get AI to do it. Actually, not even a bad idea. That would be a positive use of AI right there. You know what? I wonder, does it already have that? If I chat GPT it? Damn. I'm sorry I can't provide specific details about scenes in Rebel Moon Part 2 Scargiver, as it appears to be fictional work that hasn't been released yet. Thanks, AI. Are they all confirmed yet? The third one is, I actually just saw an announcement yesterday. They've got a guy who worked on Star Wars coming on. Let me see. To be a production designer. Which is... Can't be super excited about that with current Star Wars. A YouTuber did the first movie and it's 45 minutes of slow-mo? The movie's 134 minutes and 45 of them are spent in slow-mo on the first one. And there's more in the second. That makes me so curious. Hold on. What YouTuber? I want to see. Why Rebel Moon sucks. Cool. What happens when slow-mo is half the movie? This is that scene I always reference where he jogs for like 2 straight minutes in slow motion. Which video is it? It's called How Much Slow-Mo Motion Was in Rebel Moon.
Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon just came out a couple days ago, and it's a 2 hour and 15 minutes of a muddled mess, but also full of slow motion. What if I told you if all that slow motion would have been at regular speed, we would have been a lot shorter. We had literally ships in slow motion, people in slow motion, shooting in slow motion, battle scenes in slow motion.
That's that jog, baby.
Crying out loud, even the rice was in slow motion. But if all that would have been removed and played in regular speed, the movie would have only been an hour and 30 minutes, meaning the movie had 45 minutes of slow motion.
Are you kidding me?
And guess what? There's a director's cut coming out very soon, meaning expect another 45 minutes of slow motion action and whatever face this girl's doing throughout the whole entire movie.
So I gotta just take his word for it there, I guess. I thought he was gonna show it. I believe it though. 45 minutes sounds about right for the first part. I imagine part 2 is much more. I think, not exaggerating, I think at least an hour of Rebel Moon Part 2 is spent in slow-mo. At least. Bare minimum, an hour is spent in slow motion. That's my guess. Will the last one be 2 hours of slow-mo? Yeah, he seems to just keep increasing it as he goes on, so by the time we get to Part 6 of Rebel Moon, the whole movie is going to be told in slow motion. The thing is, though, in that video right there, he pointed out even the rice is in slow motion. In Rebel Moon Part 1, I remember some of the farming scenes were normal speed. In Rebel Moon Part 2, I just watched it, and I can't think of a single farming scene that wasn't slow motion. So, like, when they're using the scythe on the hay, it's slow motion. When they're dropping bags of the grain, it's slow motion. It's, like, any time they're farming is slow motion this time. What is Rebel Moon even supposed to be about? It's fundamentally a Star Wars copy, but, like, as told by Zack Snyder at 0.2 speed. But it's... like, it seems to also really want to be Seven Samurai. It borrows so much from Seven Samurai that it's starting to feel less like Star Wars and more like the worst fan adaptation of fucking Seven Samurai. Or, yeah, that's what it's called, right? Seven Samurai? I'm almost positive. Yeah, Seven Samurai. They only care about the views, they get no reviews. No, I don't think many people are watching Rebel Moon. Like, I see a lot of the delusion from Snyder fans. Like, I saw them posting screenshots about how Rebel Moon Part 1, or how Rebel Moon Part 2 is number 1 on Australian Netflix, and Rebel Moon Part 1 is number 9 on Australian Netflix, and they're like, Snyder does it again. He's bringing in all the big numbers. It kind of sounds like you don't like him. I do not like his movies. I don't know anything about him as a person aside from that dog shit Joe Rogan segment he did. But outside of that, I don't know anything about Snyder. Just his work. But I do not like his movies. Thanks to Tier 1 Chicken Joe. He did like Justice League cut. Yeah, like I said, I like the Snyder cut of Justice League, actually. I think that's the only thing of his that he directed that I've liked since 300. Because I also just did not like Watchmen. I didn't see it when it came out. I saw it like 5 months ago. That movie was highly overrated. Which is like a criminal opinion to have, but I thought that movie was like very overrated. You just didn't understand it. You're right. Rorschach's monologues about how, like, the city is a festering corpuscle that needs to be popped so all the ooze of corruption, sex, and rape can filter out through its methodists. And let the disease run rampant while they whisper up to me to save them. And I'll whisper no. I'm too busy jerking my fucking meat with the comedian. The corrupt comedian. Yeah, it went over my head. Well, I guess you do understand it. The comics are better. I actually love the Watchmen characters. I am familiar with the characters. I think they're a very, very, very cool, like, graphic novel. I just did not like the movie. It did not live up to the hype.